got my hard data written down and nothing else. I'm gonna base my wind calls off of the fact that this is a 5-mile-an-hour gun shooting Hornady match 6.5 Creedmoor 140 grain. And we'll see how the wind calls go. I'll try to talk through my impacts to figure out the actual miles per hour, but the wind now has been going from 4 to 9. And so I'm gonna try to bracket that 4 to 9, and at 600 yards, 5 miles an hour would be 6/10. So I'm gonna hold 7/10 and see where it goes from there. And then I'm gonna calculate the wind speed accordingly. Okay, I hit 4/10, which means that the wind speed for me is 3 miles an hour. 3 miles an hour for 700 would be 0.5, I believe. 600. 7. So I'm going to hold 0.5 at 7. I hit center. So at 800 yards, I'm going to hold 0.6. Where's the 800? That's 9,800. Hit center. At 900, I'm gonna hold I'm gonna hold 0.6 also. That held good. So at 1,000, I'm gonna hold 0.7. That was the impact, but it hit for a 5-mile-an-hour wind. It hit at 0.9, which would be 90%, which would be 4.5 miles an hour. So 4.5 miles an hour at 900, 6.5 is going to be 0.8. Okay, it was a little bit to the right of that, which I think means that it's going to be at 5 miles an hour now. So I'm going to go to 5.5 for 800. I'm going to hold 0.8, which is full value. That hit for 5 miles an hour. I'm going to come to 7. I'm going to hold 0.7 because it's a 5-mile-an-hour gun. That impacted center, so I'm going to come back to 6. And I'm going to hold 0.6. dead center. So I'm gonna take the video out and walk you through those hits. This is the 600-yard target, and my initial call wasn't, I was holding too much wind, and I held too much, so I sit here, but we made the calculation, I adjusted the center, so hopefully the next one is more in line. On the way back, I had a good wind call from 1,000, and that seemed to adjust and then hold true, and as you can see, I held 6/10 at 600 yards because the wind was 5 miles an hour, and that was a center punch. So I held a little too much. I held a little bit more elevation, thinking I was gonna hold more wind, and adjusted accordingly. So going out, I was less accurate. Makes sense. Your initial call, you don't know what it's gonna be. You shoot and then you adjust. On the way back, I knew what the wind call was, and I was able to hold center. So let's go to 7. All right, here we are at 700 yards. And to be totally honest, I don't remember which one was going out and which one was coming in. But if you take center line, they're essentially an inch from center either way. The going out shot, I adjusted from having seen that I was holding too much wind, I held less, whichever one it was. And coming back, I was refining that wind call to the 5 mile an hour zone and was able to hold here. But either way, this is, you know, 4 inches apart, you know, and about 3 inches apart or something, and about an inch from center either way, and we're at 700 yards shooting factory ammo. I think to me this is an acceptable wind deviation. I knew my wind from 600, held at 7, adjusted as I went out, and on the way back was able to keep it more center line than that initial wind. All right, here's at 800 yards. And I thought there was another one, and I kind of panicked. You could probably see it on the video where I thought, oh shit, 800. I knew the truing bar was at 800, but it had 2 shots on it already. So I don't remember which 2 were from before and which 2 were my 2 shots, but refining that wind call helped keep those shots center moving out and moving in. And so the wind hadn't changed much from 7. In fact, it hadn't changed much from 6. So the only shot so far that deviated was my initial wind call where I held too much. Going out and then coming back in. It was, you know, pretty darn close to center. Okay, so we're moving out. 600, my initial shot was a little too much wind. I adjusted 7 and 8. They stayed true. Here the wind picked up a little more. We're also getting farther, so as the wind speed grows or goes down, your precision needs to accommodate for that. And here we can see that the wind picked up for both of these shots. Now I remember walking it out that my first shot was this one up on the shoulder, because I noticed that it was high and that the wind had picked up. I felt like the wind was about, you know, 4 miles an hour coming out. We'll review the audio, but coming out, my initial wind hold was too much, and we dropped it below a 5. But up here the wind started to pick up, and I was holding less than full value. And so I knew that the wind was going to be higher at this point. And so moving out to 1,000, I was kind of already thinking, you know, this is going to be more than a full value hold. And I was a little concerned about it. So I held the same wind, thinking that maybe it was me. And what we're going to see when we go to 1,000 is that it wasn't enough wind. But after I saw that, then I was able to pull it back towards center. I saw that it came back in enough, but not quite to midline. And that's where I realized, all right, we're talking about a full value wind, and 8, 7, and 6 were stacked center from there on out. Here I'm about an inch off of center, and here I'm about 3 inches off of center at 900 yards. So this is still within an MOA, right? 1 MOA, but it would have been an edge hit at an MOA, and we're always trying to get a center punch as best we can. All right, so at 1,000 yards, we've got a 4/10 wide target, and like I said before, when I shot 900 and saw that it was to the right, I knew the wind was stronger, but I didn't quite believe it, and so I still didn't hold enough wind. So my initial shot, I held too much, but by the time I was feeling comfortable with center hits, I was doubting that the wind had picked up this much, but you got to believe the bullet. Had I believed 900, this would have been center, right? But I didn't believe it, and I had the same deviation in wind speed, but this is where I started to think, okay, the wind's picked up. I adjusted, I got closer to center there, missed it by about an inch, and then held center all the way back. So the takeaway for me anyway is to believe the bullet, not think, oh well, maybe I didn't pull that right or something or other. When you get a wind speed from a target and you're shooting in the same direction or azimuth, the bullet's experiencing the environment the whole way between the firing position and the target. We aren't. And so if we don't listen to that deflection, there's a good chance that you're going to miss what you're aiming at. Now this is still probably an MOA from about here to here, but again, the edge hit on an MOA, we're not trying to hit an edge, we're trying to hit the center so that we have good wind speed data. And that was a failure on my part, but from here back, I was able to correct and adjust it. But still, we should be learning from every shot, not second guessing ourselves.